Step right on up and get your premium whale bait. This is 100% guaranteed to increase your gacha profits and lure in those leviathans. And it's also a new system in Konosuba Fantastic Days. Alright, so what are character shards? They're a new progression system in Konosuba Fantastic Days, and they're mostly obtained through the gacha. You can get a small amount from events, and a few can be gotten from expert quests, but overall, the primary source is by pulling. This means it's very expensive to max from a dollar's perspective and from a time invested perspective. This also has huge returns in damage, and we'll go over just how much in a moment. Character shards come in two different types: prismatic shards that can be used for any character, and locked to character shards that can be only used for the ones with their picture on them. You can get more prismatic shards by trading for them in the exchange, but the ratio is pretty bad, and most of the time you won't want to do this. The only way to get prismatic shards is through events or the exchange, while character shards are easier to get through the gacha. Each character in Konosuba Fantastic Days has their own shard path, including the collab characters, but I'll go over them at the end. For the 22 main cast characters, they have 4 separate tab paths that you can unlock. They're divided by element: fire and light, water and wind, earth and lightning, and dark and normal. Each tab is separate and has to be unlocked individually. You can unlock them piecemeal, unlocking half of one path and then switching to another, but it's usually recommended to go all the way in, as the best rewards are at the end. Obviously, different characters will more value different elements than others, and I'll go over each of those in a minute. This is a pretty huge boost to whales because of how much damage is unlocked. This slide is actually incorrect. There are actually 4 elemental boosts for tab, for a total of 12%, with each of the 4 separate tabs having a 3% boost to all damage, which is another 12%, for a total of 24% increased damage. You also get a pretty significant boost to your stats, as each tab has 3 separate boosts to stats. If you unlock all of them, you'll get a total of 40 attack, 40 defense, 4 agility, and 200 HP. And of course, it will be nearly impossible for free-to-play to max this out anytime soon, while whales will get a pretty big jump on this, and that damage boost is going to be rather significant in Arena. This is what the path looks like. As you can see, the first one costs 10, then 15, then 20, and so on, all the way up to 80 to get the all-elemental damage boost. That means it's a total of 270 shards to unlock one tab, and for all 4 tabs, you need 1080 shards. But that's just for one character. There are 22 characters in the main cast, not to mention collab characters, so this will be an incredibly expensive and lengthy endeavor, even for light spenders. There are also other rewards you get for unlocking the path. Once you've unlocked 10 different steps, you'll get a total of 3 tickets, a 4-star ticket and 2 3-star tickets. You'll get this eventually, so no need to rush it. The return on investment here is pretty small since you only get 20 shards for a 4-star character. As usual, I'll be going over each of the individual characters and giving my recommendations as to what you should unlock with them first. For Kazuma, Festival Kazuma is probably his best bet, and that character deals mostly lightning damage, so I would go with the Earth and Lightning one first. Kazuma also deals a lot of normal damage because of his snipe ult and his personal weapon boosting more normal damage. I'd recommend you go for the dark and normal path after that, and that will increase damage for all of his cards. After that, Idle Kazuma or Baldzuma deals wind damage, so that's a good one to get, but the Fire and Light one can be saved for later as it's not going to be a priority. As for the Goddess of Debt, Godqua deals only water damage, so that's your top priority, as Godqua is easily the best character in the game right at this particular moment in time. For the next one, the Light and Fire one is pretty good, as Danmachi Aqua deals a lot of damage, and Aqua's God Blow Ultimate also deals light damage. There are no Dark Aqua cards, but her normal bonks can be boosted by unlocking the Dark and Normal path. She doesn't really have any Earth or Lightning cards, and I have no idea when we'll get the Lightning Halloween Aqua, and she won't be any good when she comes, so save that one for some other day. For Miss Chuuni-Boom-Booms, most of her damage comes from either a railgun or explosion, so the Fire and Light path is the first one you should pursue for her, as you'll get the most results from that. Plus, B0 Megamine is still usable, and she will still be okay in light for some time to come, so go ahead and get that one first. Christmas Megamine is Earth, and there is a Railgun Collab Megamine who is Lightning, so I'd get that one next. For the Dark, Normal, and Water Wind, there aren't any really good Megamine cards there, so no need to get them. You might eventually max them for the elemental damage and the stats, but that is going to be a project for another day. Darkness is the only one excited about this update because she wants Daddy Nexon to punish her for being such a bad girl. For Legendary Darkness, she deals basically all light damage aside from her ult, so I'd recommend the Fire and Light path for Darkness first. After that, she does deal some normal damage as long as she's got that mask on, and the Overlord Darkness is a dark element character, so dark and normal makes the most sense for her. Eventually she'll get decent cards in other elements, but that is some time away, so I would hold off on Earth, Lightning, and Water Wind for the time being. For our favorite thief, she is going to be dealing pure wind damage with Festival Chris, and by happy chance, Ninja Chris is her second best card and is of the water element, so the water and wind badge definitely makes the most sense for her. After that, she deals plenty of normal damage, especially if she's using Wire Tornado. There aren't any Dark Chris cards, but just getting that extra normal increase is worth getting the Dark and Normal path. She also has good cards in Earth and Lightning, specifically Swimsuit and Snow Chris, but she doesn't have any good cards in either Fire or Light at the time, so wait on that one. For Wiz, New Year's Wiz is going to be really great. We'll get her in a few months, and her ultimate one deals water damage and is usually her go-to ultimate, so I'd suggest getting that. Casino Wiz is fine. If you want to min-max for right in the moment, maybe do the Earth one first, and it will boost her ultimate too as well, so I'd recommend the Earth and Lightning path after you've done the Water and Wind one. Wizmist might occasionally be used, but she's fallen off sharply, and I don't think she has that many arenas left in her. Maybe get that one first if you really want to do well in Fire Arena, but otherwise you can hold off. There aren't any good Dark Wiz cards, and she doesn't deal normal damage, so save that one for last. Yunyun has a lot of money, but no friends. She will be pretty good in the Fire element. I think Halloween combined with Festival Megamine is a good bet for Yunyun, and of course OG Yunyun is light, and eventually Festival Yunyun will also be light, so I'd recommend the Fire and Light path first. Her U2 is of the Lightning element, and Christmas Union is of the Earth element, so that's another good one. However, maybe if there's a Dark Arena you really want to do well in, and you have Yukata Union, you might do the Dark Path before the Earth Lightning one, as Yukata Union is quite strong. She doesn't really have any good options in Water or Wind though, so that one is firmly last. For our Princess Powerhouse, I recommend you go for the Fire and Light path first. Festival Iris is an overpowered unit. She'll be coming probably in June, and of course her ultimate one deals light damage, so that's very worth getting. Iris also tends to deal a lot of normal damage, so the Dark Normal path makes sense for her. Unfortunately, she's falling off everywhere else. Increasingly, characters have to bring some buffs for the team to the table, and Iris just doesn't do that, so you can hold off on those other badges for a while. Original Komekko is probably your best bet, as she works well with Festival Megamine, so I'd recommend the Fire and Light one first. There is a Valentine's Komekko who is usable, who's coming in the somewhat near future, so that Dark and Normal path is also worth doing. Maybe someday we'll get Halloween Komekko who's water, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. She only gets trash cards in Earth and Lightning, so you can save that one for much later. As for our favorite nun who has a restraining order against all schools in the Belzerg area, Cecily is actually going to get quite good. If we were talking about her right now, I'd say trade her shards in for someone else, but shortly we're going to start getting a glut of good Cecily cards, starting with a Lightning Snow Cecily who's strong enough to merit me recommending pursuing the Earth and Lightning path for her first. After that, there is a Festival Cecily at some point who is water and quite strong. And even Ninja Cecily, who is dark, gets good when she gets her Ultimate 2 version 2, so that's worth unlocking as well. There aren't any good Fire or Light Cecily cards, so don't worry about that one. For Aru, Dark has always been her strongest element, and that's going to continue to be the case, especially when Festival Aru comes. Light is the other element that Aru has been doing well in, so I'd recommend that second after you do the dark and normal path. For all the other ones, she hasn't gotten any good cards there, so I wouldn't bother with them at all. For the Hero Katsumoto, he has several good options in Light and Fire, either already out or coming up rather soon, so I think the Fire and Light is the correct choice for him first. He also has good cards in both Earth and Lightning, both out now and coming in the future, so that's also a good pick. He does do a lot of normal damage, especially since his only ult worth a flip does only normal damage, so maybe the dark and normal path is one you'll want to bump up on the scale, so you get the benefit across all his cards. He doesn't have any good cards in water or wind, so don't worry about those. And then we have free parking, where you should just trade in the dust shards for prismatic ones. Seriously, the only halfway decent dust is going to be Festival Dust, and he won't come for a year and a half at the very least. I would recommend trading in his shards for better ones, although you could try and unlock 10 to get the ticket. I don't think it's worth it though. Dust's dedicated minder Rin is, on the other hand, quite good, and it's a little bit hard to recommend which path you should go down first. I think Light is probably the best choice, as Maid Rin is very good, and in the future there is another quite good Rin Light card. Welfare Dark Rin is also pretty good, so it can be worth going down that path, and her U2 is dark as well. She has several upcoming good cards in both Earth and Lightning, so I think that's your third priority, and much later we'll get Festival Rin, who is of the wind element, so you should get that at some point. As for Leah the Buffing Queen, Maid Leah is a triple S tier unit and is of the fire element, so you should absolutely unlock the Fire and Light path. As a bonus, Snow Leah is light and is pretty good, so she'll benefit from that as well. Casual Leah is wind, and Festival Leah will be water when she arrives eventually, so I think water and wind is the next one to do. Leah doesn't deal as much normal damage as a lot of other physical characters because her ults either focus on buffing or deal elemental water damage, but it can be worth it to unlock the dark normal path for her after you've done the other good ones. She doesn't really get any good cards in Earth or Lightning, so don't bother with that. As for the Trainer of Axel Hearts, CeeLo's only good cards are really in Lightning right now. She will get Onsen CeeLo, who eventually gets good, but it's not a priority to unlock it. Someday there will be Festival CeeLo who's wind, and can be decent enough for you to use that. There is one good light CeeLo card eventually, so maybe you want to unlock that path, but there's no reason to do dark or normal, as CeeLo doesn't deal normal damage and she has never gotten a good dark card. For Kono fans' most annoying character, Swimsuit Erika is definitely the best of her cards, and that means that you should unlock the water path first. Depending on how much you use her ultimate 2, it can be worth it to boost your fire damage. Otherwise, I'd recommend going down the dark and normal path, as her ult 1 deals normal damage and is usually her best ult, and of course, her stabs with her dagger deal normal damage as well. She doesn't get any good Earth or Lightning cards, so don't bother with that path. For Melissa, Onsen is definitely her best card, so unlock the Earth path first. She will be getting pretty good cards both in water and wind, so it's a good idea to unlock that as well. She does deal a lot of normal damage, maybe prioritize the dark and normal path first, but you can hold off on the light and fire path because she doesn't get any good cards in those elements. In the case of knockoff Komekko, Ainomiya is definitely the best card she has, so prioritize the fire one. She also does a lot of normal damage between her U2 and her standard bonks, and of course, PJ Mia is a pretty good card as well, so do the dark and normal path after that. Sometimes you'll use Mia's ult 1, which deals earth damage, so it can be worth it to do the earth lightning path, but she doesn't have any good water or wind cards, so that one can be saved for much later. For Amy, maybe you want to unlock the dark normal path for her, as Arabian Amy is her only good card. However, Arabian Amy is on her way out of the meta, and she doesn't really have any other good cards either out now or any time in the near future, so for the most part, you'll want to trade Amy's shards in for prismatic ones and use them on better characters. For everyone's favorite Smiling Demon, his original card is definitely the best, so Vanir should pursue the Earth path first. After that, he gets good cards in both water and wind, so that can be worth unlocking. His ultimate 2 deals normal damage, and it's pretty good, so you might want to unlock the dark normal path to buff that up. He doesn't really get any good fire or light cards, so no need to worry about that path. Right, let me touch on the collab characters really quick here. Really only uber whales are going to invest in our current crop of collab units. Eventually it might be worth to invest in them a little bit. Ainz springs to mind as being a very powerful one for an extended period of time, but he's not going to be here for a month or so. Aiz is currently the best collab unit, but she's going to fall off as soon as Chris gets here, so I don't see any reason to invest in her. There's also a very small reward for investing in collab units. They only ever get one good card, unlike the main cast, who have multiple cards that can be good, so it's usually worth investing in them first. Worst of all, you really have to use prismatic shards to unlock collab characters, and I just don't see it as being worth it. You can get a 4-star and 2 3-star tickets for fully unlocking collab characters, but again, I don't think it's worth your resources. For my closing thoughts, for most physical characters, that is characters who have a normal typed basic, maybe the normal attack buff is the best one. The exception here would be festival units, especially Godqua, who does not deal normal damage and would get more out of an elemental path. Still, if you want to have a generalist option, the dark normal path is good for characters who have normal basics. This entire progression system is going to take ages or extreme dollars to complete. I don't recommend you whale for this. I honestly don't think it's worth it. Overall, I think this is a sad day for Konofan, and especially free-to-play players. It's going to put a huge money gap between players, even beyond just having the right cards. Now you have to have spent enough money to max out all your characters, and I just don't think that's good for the game. Anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching through this very long explanation of the new system. We'll see you around soon in Konosuba Fantastic Days, and check back again for more guides and videos.